It is impossible for a person to truly know their Creator and not love Him. It is impossible for a person to love their Creator and not submit to Him. And it is absolutely impossible for a person to submit to their Creator, the Almighty Allah, and be unhappy. This is absolutely impossible.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really profound concept, right at the heart of Islamic theology, the Asma al-Husna, or what are known as the beautiful names of God. I mean, this is one of the biggest questions in all of theology, right? How can our finite human minds even begin to wrap themselves around an infinite, transcendent creator? Well, the Qur'an itself actually gives us the answer. It introduces this very idea of the beautiful names as the way for us, for humanity, to get to know, to understand, and to call upon God. Okay, let's jump right into this. And we're going to start with the most foundational name of all. So while there are a lot of names and attributes, Allah is considered the supreme name. And it's not just a title, it's understood as the personal name for God. It's the one that kind of encompasses all the other attributes and points directly to the divine essence itself. So you might be thinking, all right, if Allah is the ultimate name, then why are there others? Well, these other names, they act as a sort of divine introduction, helping us build our understanding of who God is through His attributes. Think of it like this. These names are like 99 different doors that let us connect with different parts of God's nature in a way that we can actually comprehend. It's a lot like how you get to know a person, right? You learn about their distinct traits, their kindness, their strength, their wisdom. Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. There's a crucial distinction to make. So when we hear a name like the All-Hearing, it sounds familiar. But in God, that attribute is on a level of absolute perfection. His hearing isn't limited by distance or walls, not like our own finite, pretty imperfect human abilities. This brings us to a very specific, very significant number that's absolutely central to this whole concept. That number is 99. Islamic tradition, based on the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, really focuses in on 99 of these names. And this is a really powerful promise. But what does it actually mean to memorize them? Is it just about reciting a list? Well, scholars explain that it's not about just rote learning at all. It's a much deeper three-step process. First, you learn to pronounce them correctly. Second, and this is key, you have to truly understand their profound meanings. And third, you actively use these names to connect with God when you pray. To really get a feel for the incredible depth behind each one of these names, let's just pick one and do a deep dive. We're going to look at Ar-Rahman, which means the most merciful. And focusing on mercy is no accident. The idea of rahmah, or mercy, is the most frequently mentioned attribute in the entire Qur'an. It shows up in different forms over 500 times. That tells you right away this is a huge, central theme in understanding God's relationship with all of creation. So this name, Ar-Rahman, it signifies this all-encompassing, almost overwhelming mercy that's just fundamental to God's nature. And there's a tradition from the Prophet that just brilliantly illustrates the incredible scale of it all. So the Prophet explained that God created mercy and then divided it into 100 parts. And here is the part that is just truly mind-bending. God kept 99 of those parts with Himself. Only a single part, just one, was sent down to be distributed among the entire universe. Now just let that sink in for a second. Every single act of compassion that has ever existed, a mother's unconditional love for her child, an animal's instinct to protect its young, every bit of kindness between people throughout all of human history, all of it comes from just that 1% of God's total mercy. And that just illustrates the scale perfectly, doesn't it? The other 99 parts, that's 99 times everything we've ever known of compassion, are reserved by God for believers on the Day of Judgment. It's just staggering to think about. Now, to help organize these vast concepts, the names are often grouped into different categories, which can really help us understand the different ways they describe God. So you have this framework. You've got names related to His very essence, His being, like Al-Malik, the king. Then you have names about His actions in the universe, like Al-Khaliq, the creator. And then there are names that describe His absolute perfection, His freedom from any flaws, like Al-Quddus, the most holy. But ultimately, and this is so important, every single one of these names is just a different pathway leading back to the one and the same divine being. So whether you call upon Allah or you call upon Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, you are calling upon the same God. It all reinforces that core principle of his absolute oneness. And this is really why this all matters. The names aren't just a list to be memorized. They're an invitation to a lifelong journey of discovery. I mean, if a single name like Ar-Rahman contains a reality that vast, just imagine the understanding, the connection, and the wisdom that's waiting to be uncovered in all the others.
You know, usually when we talk about source code on the show, we're talking about Python scripts, maybe some algorithms, or even the biological sequences in DNA.
Sure.
But today, I want to look at a different kind of code, one that claims to be the operating system for reality itself.
That is a massive claim.
Mm.
But, given the stack of sources we have on the desk today, it's really not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
We're looking at a system that has defined metaphysics for over 1 billion people for, 14 centuries?
We're doing a deep dive into the Asma Allah al-Husna in English. That's usually translated as the beautiful names of Allah.
Right.
Now, I'll be honest, before we started researching this, my exposure was pretty surface level. You see a poster on a wall in a restaurant, right? It's got a grid of 99 Arabic calligraphy scripts.
You just think, oh, that's a nice piece of art.
Exactly. It just looks like a list. But we've got lectures here from Dr. Sheikh Yasir Qadhi. We have theological breakdowns from classical heavyweights like al-Qurtubi and Ibn Kathir, and some incredibly dense, almost psychedelic philosophical reflections from al-Ghazali.
And they are not treating this like a poster.
Not at all. They're treating it as a linguistic key to understanding the universe.
They really are. And I think the first shift we have to make, and al-Ghazali is so big on this, is moving away from the idea that this is just a religious checklist.
Right.
What we're really looking at is a framework. In the Islamic theological tradition, the divine essence is. It's fundamentally unknowable. You can't wrap your human brain around the infinite. So how do you interact with it?
You need an interface.
Precisely. You need an interface. And these names, the merciful, the creator, the all-knowing, they function as that interface. They are the lens through which a human being is supposed to view the divine.
So our mission today is to decode that interface. We need to figure out why the number 99 is so famous and whether that's a hard limit or, just a starting point.
A very important distinction.
And we need to get into the weeds of the linguistics because apparently merciful and merciful can mean two totally different things in Arabic depending on the grammar.
Oh, the grammar is the key to the whole thing. It really is.
And finally, we're going to look at how this is supposed to change the way you actually navigate your life. Because the sources are adamant. This isn't just for theology textbooks. It's for psychological survival.
It's a shift from seeing the names as ritual to seeing them as a worldview. And the best place to start is the source text itself. There is a verse in the Qur'an, Surah 7, verse 180, that really sets the ground rule for all of this.
What's that?
It says, "To Allah belong the most beautiful names."
The most beautiful names.
Yes. The Arabic phrasing implies the absolute pinnacle of perfection, but the instruction that follows is the critical part. So call upon him by them.
Okay, so it's a command.
It is. The sources emphasize that in this tradition, prayer isn't just a vague cry for help. It's about precision.
What do you mean by precision?
Well, if you look at the classical tafsir, the commentary, the scholars explain that you don't just say, "Oh God, give me money." You appeal to Ar-Razak, the provider.
Ah, I see.
You don't just ask for forgiveness. You call on Al-Ghafar. You don't just ask for guidance. You call on Al-Hadi.
So it's almost like accessing a specific file in a database rather than just searching the whole hard drive.
That's a really fair analogy.
You're invoking the specific attribute that matches your specific problem.
Exactly. It's about recognizing which aspect of the divine connects to your current human experience.
Okay, let's get right into the numbers game because this is the hook that catches everyone. There is this very famous, very high-stakes statement, a hadith, attributed to the Prophet Muhammad, and it sounds like a gamification of salvation.
You're talking about the ticket to paradise hadith.
Exactly. The text says, "Indeed, Allah has 99 names, 100 minus 1. Whoever memorizes them will enter paradise." Now let's just pause there.
Okay.
If I just print out a flashcard set, learn 99 Arabic words, and recite them like a parrot, am I in? Is it really that simple?
Huh. If only it were that easy. This is where the translation fails us a bit and where Dr. Yasir Qadhi's breakdown is really, really helpful.
Okay.
We see the English word memorize and we think of like spelling bee, but the Arabic word used in the text is asa.
Asa.
It's a much deeper term. Asa means to enumerate, yes, but it implies a comprehensive audit. It means understanding the meaning, internalizing the concept, and crucially, acting upon it.
So it's not just data storage.
Not at all. It's about character alignment. If you know God is the Sami, the all-hearing, you don't just memorize the word. You live your life with the acute awareness that every whisper is being recorded.
I see.
If you know he is Al-Karim, the generous, you try to embody generosity in your own small way. Asa is an active engagement. You become a reflection of the names you memorize.
That makes way more sense. It's not a password, it's a transformation. But here is the thing that confused me in the notes. We have this number 99. It's very specific. 100 minus 1.
Right.
But then I'm reading the commentary on Surah Luqman, and it suggests the attributes of God are infinite. So which is it? Is it a closed list or an open ocean?
That is the classic theological debate. But the consensus in the sources we have, especially from scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and others cited here, is really fascinating. They argue that the attributes of God are indeed infinite,
Okay.
but the names revealed to humanity are a curated selection.
A curated selection.
Think of it this way. The Qur'an says in Surah Luqman, if all the trees on earth were pens and the sea with 7 more seas behind it, the words of Allah would not be exhausted.
That is a wild image. An ocean of ink and forests of pens, and you still run out of ink before you run out of God's words.
Right. So the qualities of the divine are limitless. But the human mind, we have limits. We function on finite bandwidth. So the 99 names are like a greatest hits album.
A starter pack.
A starter pack for the human consciousness, exactly. These are the ones we need to know to function in this world.
Okay, I like greatest hits. So God has infinite mercy, but he gave us Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim as the tracks we can actually listen to.
Precisely. And in fact, the sources point out a really cool linguistic detail here. If you scan the Qur'an, there are over 500 different verbs and adjectives just describing mercy and compassion.
500.
Over 500. But out of all those descriptive words, only a couple, like Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, are chosen as the capital N names. So the 99 are a specific roadmap for humans, not a boundary for God.
That clears it up. So we've got this interface of 99 buttons we can push, but there is one button that is bigger than all the rest.
Yes.
The name Allah itself.
The supreme name is Allah al-Azam.
The notes distinguish this from all the others. They say names like the Creator or the King are descriptive, but Allah is different. How so?
It comes down to grammar and, well, ontology. The merciful is an adjective. It describes a quality. The Creator describes an action. But Allah, that's a proper noun.
The identifier.
It is the personal name of the divine essence.
Right.
It's the identifier that contains all the others. The theologian Imam, as-Sanusi, defines it as the proper name of God whose existence is rationally necessary.
Rationally necessary. That sounds very philosophical.
It is. It refers to the concept of the wajib al-wujud, the being that must exist for anything else to exist, the foundation. And because it's the proper name, it implicitly includes every other attribute.
So when you say Allah,
You're automatically including mercy, power, vision, and wisdom. You're calling on the whole package.
there was a really interesting historical bit in the sources about this. Apparently, this distinction between the proper name Allah and the descriptive names actually caused a massive misunderstanding back in 7th century Mecca.
Oh, the Abu Jahl story.
Yeah.
Yes, this is crucial for understanding the theology. So Abu Jahl is one of the main antagonists of the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca. He's watching the Muslims pray, and he hears them calling out to Allah. But then he hears them calling out to Ar-Rahman.
And to a polytheist mind, 2 names equals 2 gods.
Exactly. He jumps up and he says, Muhammad claims to worship one, but I hear him calling on 2. He have a god named Allah and another god named Ar-Rahman.
He thought it was a rival deity.
He did. He thought Ar-Rahman was a separate god, maybe from the Yama region. He thought they were hedging their bets. I'll pray to this one, and just in case, I'll pray to that one too.
Huh. Right.
And that is the specific context for the revelation of verse 110 in Surah 17. Call upon Allah, or call upon Ar-Rahman. To him belong the most beautiful names.
It was a clarifying update.
A direct patch. These aren't different beings. They're different facets of the one.
That's a huge upgrade in the software. It moves from many gods to one god with many dimensions.
Perfectly put. It's multifaceted monotheism.
Speaking of Ar-Rahman, let's double-click on that because in the outline we have this section called the Architecture of Mercy. And honestly, this is where the English translation really lets us down.
It really does. English just doesn't have the horsepower for this specific nuance.
We have the phrase, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. To an English speaker, that just sounds like repetition for emphasis.
The merciful, merciful.
Right. But the sources say these are two completely different grammatical structures.
They are. And this is where Arabic grammar gets really cool.
Yeah.
So they both come from the root Rama, mercy. But Ar-Rahman follows the pattern Falan.
Falan.
In Arabic, this pattern implies intensity, fullness, and something inherent. Think of the word Ghadban. It means angry, but not just annoyed. It means full of rage, about to explode.
Okay, so it's an extreme.
It's the extreme. So Ar-Rahman means God's nature is absolutely overflowing with mercy. It's explosive and all-encompassing. It's so intense that the sources say this name is reserved only for God. You can't name your kid Rahman.
It's too heavy a title for a human.
Right. It's cosmic. The Qur'an says, Ar-Rahman ala ar-arsh istawa, the most merciful rose over the throne. It implies that the fundamental fabric of the universe is mercy. It covers everyone. The believer, the atheist, the plant, the rock.
So existence itself is an act of Ar-Rahman.
It is.
Okay, so that's the cosmic background radiation of mercy. Then what is Ar-Rahim?
Ar-Rahim follows the fail pattern. This implies continuity and a specific action. If Rahman is the ocean, Rahim is the pipe that delivers water to your specific house. It's the mercy that acts upon you. It's relational.
So Rahman is who he is. Rahim is what he does.
That's a great way to simplify it. Rahman is the potential. Rahim is the kinetic. And specifically, Ar-Rahim is often linked to the believers and the afterlife. It's the special care package.
This leads us to this parable in the sources that I found absolutely staggering. The 1:99 ratio. I've heard this before, but reading the classical commentary on it it hit different.
It's one of the most famous hadiths for a reason. The imagery is just cinematic. The prophet says that God divided mercy into 100 parts.
100 parts.
And he sent down just one part to earth.
Just one?
One single part. And the text says that from this single part comes every act of kindness ever seen in the history of creation.
Wait, so we're not just talking about saints and prophets here.
No. The sources are specific. A mother horse lifting its hoof so it doesn't step on its foal. That's from that one part.
Oh.
A bird feeding a worm to its chick. That's from that one part. Your grandmother offering you tea. That's from that one part. Every smile, every donation, every hug in the history of the world is just a tiny fragment of that 1%.
That's overwhelming because it implies that everything we know about love is barely a sample size.
Exactly. And then the kicker, he kept 99 parts back for the day of judgment.
So the afterlife is 99 times more merciful than all of human history combined.
Correct. And that is the aha moment that theology wants you to have. It's meant to completely reframe the concept of judgment. We usually think of Judgment Day as a strict courtroom.
Right, very severe.
But this ratio suggests it's actually the day where the reservoir of mercy finally breaks the dam. It connects to that other famous line in the sources, my mercy overpowers my anger.
The default setting.
Yes. It suggests that while the anger is real, the mercy is the dominant force. It's the default setting of reality.
So if we understand this, if we understand the code, how do we actually use it? The sources mention that scholars categorize these names to help us apply them. Because, staring at a list of 99 can be intimidating.
Right. Navigating 99 concepts is hard, so they group them. The first group we've discussed, names of essence, Allah, al-Haq, the truth, al-Hay, the living. These are about God's existence itself.
Okay.
The second group is names of deeds, al-Tilik, the creator, ar-Razak, the provider. These explain how God interacts with the world.
Makes sense.
But the third group is fascinating. It's the names of negation or purity.
Negation? Like negative theology.
Exactly. Names like al-Qudus, the holy, or as-Salam, the source of peace. These names are effectively apophatic. They tell you what God is not.
What do you mean by that?
Well, al-Qudus means he is pure from any defect. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't have bias. As-Salam means he is free from chaos or conflict.
So it's defining God by stripping away human limitations.
Precisely. So you have who he is, what he does, and what he is free from. And the sources describe the universe itself as a wondrous book written in these three fonts.
Oh, wondrous book. I love that phrase.
It's the concept of the ayat. In Arabic, ayat means verse of the Qur'an, but it also means sign in nature.
Ah.
So the theologian looks at a mountain and sees al-Qadir, the powerful. They look at a complex ecosystem and see al-Hakim, the wise.
So you're reading the physical world to understand the metaphysical author.
You've got it. You stop seeing nature as just random physics and start seeing it as attributes in motion. And this isn't just for philosophy class. The sources offer specific prescriptions, almost like spiritual medicine, based on these names.
Yeah, I saw this note about healing and certainty. It was very specific.
It is. Al-Ghazali writes about this. For those struggling with doubt or anxiety or a lack of conviction, the prescription is the repetition, the dhikr of the name Allah specifically.
Just the name itself.
Yes. The suggestion is repeating it, say, 1,000 times. The idea isn't magic, it's cognitive centering. By focusing intensely on the necessary existence, the root of all reality, you detach from the chaotic variables of daily life.
It's like a theological anchor.
It's meant to settle the heart by returning to the center. And then there's the application for the opposite end of the spectrum, despair.
This seems critical.
This is arguably the most critical application in the modern world. The text is very firm. Do not despair of the mercy of Allah. When you looked at the sheer volume of names related to forgiveness, al-Ghafar, al-Afu, at-Tawwab, the message is that despair is effectively a heresy.
A heresy, that's strong language.
Well, think about the logic.
Yeah.
If you despair, you are essentially believing that your sin is greater than God's mercy.
You're saying your mistake is bigger than the 99 parts.
Exactly. You're putting a finite limit on an infinite attribute. You're saying God is great, but my screw-up is greater. Theologically, that's just an error. So knowing the names acts as a safeguard against depression and self-loathing.
That is a really powerful way to look at it.
It forces you to acknowledge that the system is built to forgive. It turns hope into a logical necessity rather than just an emotion.
So let's bring this all together. We started by saying this isn't just a list to memorize for a gold star.
Far from it. It is a worldview.
It seems like the 99 names are designed to balance our view of reality. You have the majesty, the Allah, the king, the creator, which gives you awe and humility, but you also have this overwhelming beauty, the mercy, the peace, the light.
And that balance is the straight path mentioned in the tradition. If you only focused on majesty, you'd be paralyzed by fear. You'd never get out of bed.
Right.
If you only focused on mercy, you'd become complacent and lazy.
Yeah.
You'd never improve. The code forces the believer to walk the tightrope between hope, raja, and awe, kaf.
Before we wrap up, I want to go back to that idea of the universe as a book. You mentioned the verse of light earlier and al-Ghazali's reflection on it.
Yes, this is something that really stayed with me from the reading. The Qur'an describes God as Nur al-Samawati, Walid, the light of the heavens and the earth. Al-Ghazali takes this name, An-Nur, the light, and just runs with it.
Where does he take it?
He suggests that just as physical light allows us to see objects, the divine light allows us to see truth. But if we combine that with the idea that the universe is a book written in his attributes, it raises a really provocative question. Does that mean that every act of kindness we witness, every moment of beauty, every instance of healing, isn't just a random event?
You're saying it's intentional.
Could it be that what we are seeing is a direct, linguistic glimpse of the divine essence leaking into our reality?
That is a heavy thought. So when you see a stranger help someone who dropped their groceries, you're essentially seeing the name Ar-Rahman in 3D.
Exactly. You are reading the name in real time. The world isn't hiding God. According to this theory, the world is literally spelling him out moment by moment.
That is a fascinating thought to leave our listeners with. The next time you see something beautiful, ask yourself, which name am I looking at right now?
It changes the way you look at everything.
It certainly does. Thank you all for diving deep with us today into the code of the 99 names.
It was a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.